Greetings, world. It's your girl, Sharon, back for the next episode in my So Says Sharon series, and it's all about love. It's been a long time coming, so we're just going to get right into it. Okay, my definition of love, let's start there first, is the acknowledgement, the honoring, and the reverence of the connection I share with another person. It sounds simple, but I'm going to break down for you how I came to this conclusion. The spiritual breakdown of it. We have the scientific and we have the spirituals, but I'm starting with the spiritual. So the spiritual, starting with God. God and love are synonymous in many religious texts. So in Christianity, there's a scripture that God is love. Also, Allah is loving is part of Allah's essence in Islam. So let's look at God as an equation where God is X and love is Y, X equals Y. Let's solve for X. What is God? God in Christianity is Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end. Also in Islam, Allah is considered undying and forever. So here religion speaks of God as being an infinite being and existing everywhere. We're going to continue to solve for X, which is God. So by looking at the word and how early man defined our creator, we'll get a little bit more information. So the etymology of the word God, it originates from the Proto-Germanic word meaning gut, which means that which is invoked. So early humans discovered information about our creator and they defined it with a word meaning that which is invoked. So let's go back one more time. That which is invoked equals love. And even the etymology of the word Allah, all, the, la, Allah, the God. Interesting, right? That which is invoked is in love. So next we have what is love, the Y of our equation. And it's really simple. It originates from a Middle English word, lufu, which means deep affection. So love doesn't mean you're my man or you're my boyfriend when I say I love you. It simply means I have a deep affection for you. So now we have God X and love Y. We have an eternal, infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent, invocable energy that is a deep affection. One more breakdown and I think we'll have it. Let's look at, so we have to put our science hats on for this one. So, okay. Scientists would ask, how can God be beginning and end and omnipresent and omnipotent? It would mean that God's energy is everywhere, in the sea, in the rocks, in the air, you, me. There would not be a place there where God was not. What else has this characteristic in science? Anyone want to take a guess? Matter. So it coincides with each other. So in the scientific community, what they call matter, which is everything that we are, the religious community calls God. So it's basically how God moves through us all. And it's also the origin, I know many of you have heard, is one love. Like, there's only one, and it's infinite. I said impotent. It's infinite and omnipotent and omnipresence is everywhere, all throughout the universe. All of this is God. Darkness and light, night and day, yin and yang, male, female, everything is God and everything is love. So, still, how can God be love at the same time? I truly feel it was a simple declaration to all that God's energy runs through all of us, and we can call that energy love. So, some questions now about love. Now that we have this definition that it is an energy that we invoke, that is God's energy, and it connects us to everyone, which is love. So now let's apply that to our everyday life. So, okay. What does it now mean when I say I love you? As I stated before, it's now my definition. It basically means for me that in this particular moment, because I had to feel it, it had to run through me in order for me to say it to this person. It just means that I'm acknowledging and honoring the connection that we have. It's really simple. It's actually the foundation for every relationship you'll actually have. Next question, does it ever go away? The answer is no. What happens is you choose not to invoke that love energy anymore. So when you say, I don't love them anymore, that's not possible. You can love them at any point in time you want to. However, you're like, you know what? I'm not invoking that energy with you anymore. I'm moving on. And that's it. Next question. Is the love you have for everyone the same? In my definition, the answer is yes. Love across the board is same. If I had children, I'd love my children the same way that I would love my mom, my brothers, my husband if I had one, my friends. It's all the same. What we do is confuse love with duty, obligation, and any commitments. So, although I may love my husband and I love my child, the obligation or the commitment I have with my child is different from that of my husband. Love is the same. Obligations are different. That's the big difference between the two. So let's not confuse love with commitment. That's a completely separate thing. I can still love you and be like deuces, like I don't want to be around you. That means I'm just releasing myself from the any obligations or commitments I may have with you. And that also explains why some people I think I've done it. I've said, love you guys. It's basically just an acknowledgement, but the obligation, duty, and commitment does not come along with it. It's just an acknowledgement that I have a connection with every single one of you. Yeah. So, can there be a conflict of interest when it comes to love? I don't think it's a conflict of interest. We just seem to think that we can only love one particular way. We can only love one particular person. Love is love is intimate, but it's also infinite. I can love an infinite number of people. So that's why when I get in a relationship, I want to make it clear that I have male friends I love. I have female friends I love. I may talk to my male friends. I may talk to my female friends. You have to understand that love is freedom. Okay, going back to the original question, there's not a conflict of interest. What we actually tend to do is direct our energy more towards our loved ones than ourselves. So we continue to have the obligation with our spouses, our children, our family, but we lose the obligations we have for ourselves. And I'll give you an example of that. Say I have worked a long shift, 12-hour shift, and I'm exhausted, and I'm coming home and I cook for my family, I clean, I put the children to bed, and I'm done. I was already at 0. Now I'm like in the negative now. In my opinion, that is honoring the connection with your family, but not with yourself. The fair thing to do would be to say to your family, you know what, I'm completely exhausted. Would you mind if we order out? order out and say, honey, can you help with the kids tonight? Like, I'm so exhausted. Can you put them to bed and read them a story? That's love for yourself. And then if he's a little bit tired, you work that out. Maybe you both share the story. It just all depends. But here's the thing that I actually use as a guide in my life, and it's great for empaths, so that you're not suffering from toxic empathy, which is giving to others and not giving to yourself. So you ask yourself 2 questions before performing any action for a loved one. Number 1, is this action loving for myself? Number 2, is this action loving for the other person? If at any time you answer no to either one of those questions, stop. Because then you need to reassess why you're attempting to perform some action that is either not loving to yourself, loving to your spouse, or neither loving to yourself or your spouse or whoever it is, your friends, your children, or whatever. You really have to reconcile that and determine, why would you be performing this action if it's not loving? I'm currently working on that myself. So before I do anything, I ask myself these 2 questions. Before I buy this or before I do this, is it loving for me? Is it loving for the other person? That's the key there. And I think that will be an excellent tool to use moving forward. One thing I didn't touch on is unconditional love. So this is more along the lines of love is freedom. I learned unconditional love from my cat who has passed, OC. I got him as a wee baby from a litter, and he's a male, and he wasn't spayed or neutered. I'm not quite sure which one is which for his gender, but his energy was on 10 all the time. He was ripping and running through the house and knocking things over, driving me crazy, but he loved to play. And I knew that I had to let this cat outside. I knew that, but I didn't want to do it because I was afraid he'd get lost, he'd get hurt, he wouldn't come back home. I was in turmoil. I did not know what to do. But I remembered this saying that if you love something, set it free, and if it comes back to you, it was meant to be in your life. So I said, okay, I'm going to set this little kitty loose. So one morning I woke up and I opened the door, and he kind of like, really? I'm like, yeah, OC, you're free. So he went out, and I didn't check up. I didn't worry. I went about my day. And when it was about nightfall, I went to call for him. And I'm like, Osia, I only called him twice. Osia. And out of the darkness, this little thing rips towards me and runs between my legs and into the house. And in that moment, I knew that was unconditional love. Unconditional love is freedom. Love is freedom. There really shouldn't even be an unconditional love. Love and freedom should be synonymous, because we know we can't control God. We can't control any of these things that God is. So why would I try to control another person? That person is allowed their freedom. I do not own that person. That person has to make the conscious choice to choose our connection and honor it. It's really simple. And not to say that just because you love someone, you just gotta it just be a free for all. I think when you're in a relationship, it's important to establish some ground rules. So this is your commitment. So you're looking at it like, okay, what is my obligation to this particular connection? As long as it's not impinging on someone's freedom, I think boundaries are good. I think it's healthy. I'm all for prenups before you get married. I'm not thinking about the financial aspect of it, but just an outline of how we will govern our connection, our relationship, our marriage moving forward. The foundation is love. Like, oh, I see God in you. I'm willing to honor our connection. And if we move forward into a marriage or a relationship, what's our commitment look like? How are we committed to this particular connection? It's so very beautiful, and I'm so happy to share my definition with you. And if you all have any questions, something that you want to negate about what I said, please leave comments. Let me know you're out there. And thank you once again for your support. If you found this information helpful, please like and subscribe this video. It has been a pleasure today to deliver this message, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Smooches.